Okay, get yourself together, Kristen. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about all of the books that I read in March, which was more books than I have ever read in a month, which is so insane. I had such a good reading month, so many good books. I read 17 books. Excuse me, ESPN. I read 17 books in March. 17? 17. I have never in my life read 17 books in 1 month. Granted, a couple were graphic novels, a couple were really short or novellas, but I still read 17 books in March. So we're going to start off. The first book I read in March was Billionaire Boss by Anna Swan. This was a novella to set up for a series that she is writing, and I didn't love this. It's about this guy, and he owns a hotel in Las Vegas, and there's a poker tournament happening at his hotel, and this girl is really good at poker. She is our female main character, and she gets called out by him for cheating. She's not cheating, but she is underage. So she is 19 and playing in a poker tournament, which you have to be 21 to be able to play poker. You have to be 21 to be able to gamble. So he like calls her out, and then they end up like, you knowing, in like the camera room. She's actually like trying to get money so that she can go to college to get away from her dad, who is very abusive. She also tells our main character, I honestly don't even remember their names, so I feel like I'm not doing very good at explaining this, but she tells him, hey, these people are cheating on her camera. So he offers her a job. They end up, you know, falling in love and stuff. It was a novella, like I said. It was not my favorite. I thought their relationship was really weird and rushed, and I just feel like it wasn't necessary. There was not really much that happened. I feel like it had potential, but it was just executed very poorly in my opinion. So I think I gave this 3 stars. I honestly don't remember. It was not my favorite, and I have the second book, and I started it and already didn't really like it, so I think I'm just going to DNF it. I just don't think I vibe with this author's writing style at all, so unfortunately this was not a favorite of mine. And then I read The Enemy by Sarah Adams. This is the second book in her It Happened in Charleston series, but I read this one because it was the only one on audiobook. I read this on audiobook, and it was really cute. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4.25 stars. It was adorable. So this is about June and Ryan, and they are like academic rivals. They've always had a rivalry, but like her best friend and his best friend are married. That's where the first book comes in. But he's always had a thing for her, and she's always had a thing for him. So he ends up coming back into town many years after they graduated high school, and he is in town for their best friend's wedding. He ends up having to take care of her because she got a little too tipsy during the rehearsal dinner, and they end up having to like work together on something, and it was just really cute. Was it my favorite book ever? No, but I love how like just sweet and funny that Sarah Adams books are. They're just so lighthearted and so sweet. I love. They're such a breath of fresh air a lot of times, especially when I've been reading some stuff that are more heavy. I read a lot of dark romance last month. I read some more dark romance this month. So those heavier books are offset really well by books like Sarah Adams writes, where they're just sweet and wholesome, and she writes closed door romance, so there's no spice. I really loved this. This was so freaking cute. And then I read Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I adore this book. If y'all don't already know, I did an entire reading vlog on this book. I will leave it linked down below, and I'm obsessed. I can't wait for the rest of this series because I know that there's going to be more. There has to be more. Look at all of the tabs in this book. It is honestly absurd, but I love this book so much. Once you get to the 50% mark, and this 40 to 50% mark in this book. It is so freaking good. So this is about Peyton and Kai. They live in this kingdom where there are people who are called the elites. They all have powers, whether it's telekinesis or super strength, or there's so many different powers going on. And then Peyton is actually what they call an ordinary. And ordinaries don't have any powers at all, but Peyton poses as a psychic because being ordinary is not allowed. Like, they banned ordinaries from the kingdom and killed them all off. So Peyton actually ends up saving our main character Kai, and that throws her into what are called the trials. And this is very like Hunger Games meets Red Queen. I haven't read Red Queen yet, but I can definitely see the Hunger Games kind of vibes that are going on here. It's definitely not the exact same. You get to watch them both be in the trials, and Peyton is thrown into these trials with no powers against all of these people that have powers. So she is powerless in these trials, and this book is just so good. Everyone needs to read this. It is considered YA, I believe, fantasy, and I just really think that anyone would love this. This would be a really cool introduction to a fantasy because it's borderline not fantasy in a way. It's kind of dystopian, kind of fantasy. It's fantastic. It reminds me so much of those like books that I grew up reading, like the Maze Runner books, the Divergent books, the Hunger Games books, all of those. This gives those vibes in like the best way, and it is so good. I adored this book. It was 5 stars. I loved it so much. And then I listened to 3 Blind Dates on audiobook by Megan Quinn. I love Megan Quinn. I've loved the books of hers that I've read, and I need to make a dent in my Megan Quinn books because she has written so many books. So I did listen to a lot of audiobooks this month. That was one thing that I did. I listened to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 audiobooks this month. 6 audiobooks that I got through. So that was definitely helped my amount that I read this month. But I did listen to 3 Blind Dates. This is the first in her Dating by Numbers series, and this kind of sets up, I think, the other Dating by Numbers books. This is about Noelle, and she is a like news anchor, and she is just desperate to find love. So there is this new dating website that she has signed up for, and you get to go on a date with a guy at the location that this dating website has created, so that it's like a safe thing, and then you can get to continue to go on other dates if you decide to. So she ends up going on 3 blind dates with these guys. You don't get to see what they look like or anything like that beforehand. So she ends up going on 3 blind dates with 3 different guys, and she's kind of trying to like figure out what's going on and like who she really wants to be with, because the first guy kind of screwed her over and it really upset her, and the second guy she was really interested in, and they had more of like a physical connection, and then the third guy was really sweet. So she goes through all of these stages, and you kind of like are questioning who she's going to end up with throughout all of these. And then it also sets up the next book, who is actually one of the guys that she doesn't pick. It's his book, and then I'm hoping that the other one gets a book because I haven't looked anything more into it. But it's like a businessman, a rebel, and a jock. And it was so good. It was so cute. I really, really liked it. I liked kind of like the mystery aspect of trying to figure out who she was going to end up with. And I gave it 4.25 stars. It was really good. I'm looking forward to listening to the other books in this series, and I'm really hoping that one of the people will get a book. That's my hope. There's one of them that I need him to get a book. Was very cute. Did enjoy. And then I listened to The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa, and I didn't love this as much as I was hoping I was going to. I definitely liked it more like halfway through, but this is about Carolina and Max. Lena and Max. Lena is a wedding planner, and she actually was left at the altar by Max's brother. So she gets the opportunity to get this job at a hotel, and Max ends up having to work with her on her pitch to become the wedding planner for this hotel, which is like a huge opportunity for her. And so they're having to work closely together. It's X's brother. This one just didn't hit. It wasn't my favorite. I think I gave it 3.75 stars. It like I said, the second half of the book was a lot better, and you kind of understand more as to what's going on the second half of the book, because you find out something that's like pretty major. Also, I read like 3 books this month that I swear that was like someone getting left at the altar or left by their fiance. I don't know. It was a theme of the month, I guess. But like I said, it was cute. It was really cool. She's Brazilian, so it was really cool to like see that side of like the culture and learning some stuff about that. I really liked that aspect, but as far as like it being a great book, it kind of fell flat for me in a lot of places. So it wasn't my favorite. And then I read For the Fans by Nyla K, and boy, oh freaking boy. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this book is extremely taboo. Extremely taboo, and most of you are probably not going to be interested in this book at all, but if you like spice, this book is 736 pages, and most of it is spice. It's so good. This is about Kyron and Avi, and it is they're stepbrothers. They're obviously, it's a MM romance, so it's 2 guys. They're stepbrothers, and they created OnlyFans to make money. Kyron is like the quarterback for the Boston College, which is like a D1 football school, and Avi is like your typical emo quiet guy. I absolutely freaking loved this book. I loved it so much. Okay, get yourself together, Kristen. The reason that I loved this book so much though was watching them fall for each other was absolutely incredible. Like literally took my breath away because it was so sweet. You got to see the sweetest side of both of these guys, and also like them pushing away and trying to avoid falling for each other. But like it's one of the most detailed books for actually getting to see like every step of them falling for each other. They start this whole thing and they're like, all of this is just for the fans. It's for the fans. Hence the name of the book. But it slowly starts not being for the fans, and it's so sweet. And like you learn a lot about things that Kyron has been through, and there is heavy trigger warnings in this book. So please look them up. I think Nyla has them on her website. It's in the beginning of the book. It tells you where to go to find the trigger warnings. But I loved this book so much. And I expected it to be very spicy because that's what everyone was talking about. But I didn't expect it to have like so much heart to the book. And I just loved it so much. And I can't wait to read more Nyla K books. I'm like so excited to read more Nyla K books after reading this. So please go read For the Fans and then come back to me and tell me all about what you thought about it. Because Lord have mercy. My camera battery is going to die. So I'm going to go change that now. Hello, I'm back. I'm sorry if the camera changed, the light changed. I had to go pick up my daughter, but now we're back. So I honestly don't even remember the last thing I was talking about. Oh, I was talking about For the Fans. Please go read that. That is like literally one of my favorite books that I have read in a long time. I definitely want to read more MM romance since reading that, but was such a good forbidden romance book. And had so many layers to it that I didn't expect to see. So please go read For the Fans by Nyla K. Then I read Sweet New Love by Brandy Bliss. This is a new author. She just released her first like book, and this was a novella that she put out before. This was cute. I think I gave it 3.75 stars. It's so hard to rate novellas, and a lot of people have stopped rating novellas. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot going on. I think that the story had like a lot of potential, and I wish she would have just made it a full-length novel. This is about this girl, and she moves to a new town to like start over. Her fiance left her. Book 2 of this that we've gone through. She ends up moving to the small town and starting a bakery, which is like her dream. And then she meets this guy who's a single dad, and he is hired to paint her new bakery, and then kind of becomes like the person she calls on when she needs help with something. He's like kind of a handyman for her. So like this was really cute. I think it definitely needed more. Then that's the hard thing about novellas, is they're supposed to be short and sweet and fast paced, but I think novellas thrive when they're super spicy and they're just kind of like a really quick, than being something where you're trying to tell a story and having a couple build a relationship, because that's when it gets hard for me, because everything feels really, really rushed. So that's the reason that it wasn't my favorite. I really think it had potential, and I did read her first novel that came out this month as well, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Overall, I mean, this was cute. It definitely is worth the time to spend to read it. I think that she has a lot of potential. I'm really excited to see what she does, and excited to have another closed door author to read. And then I read The Right Player by Candy Steiner. Oh boy. It was so freaking good. I love Candy Steiner. I've read 2 Candy Steiner books. I've read The Blind Side and I've read The Wrong Game. The Right Player is the second book after The Wrong Game, and it did not disappoint. It was so good, so cute. It was spicy. This is about Belle and Makoa, and Makoa is a professional football player and Belle is an interior designer, and he is drafted to the Chicago Bears, and she has to come in and like help him decorate his new apartment. She is very much not a relationship girl. She has a 3-date rule. Will go on 3 dates with you, and then that is all. That's all you're getting. She's not wanting to get into a relationship. Makoa breaks these rules. But Makoa isn't very upfront about his profession at the beginning, because Belle has made it very obvious that she does not date football players or any kind of athlete. Is a no-go for her. They have some issues that they deal with there, and the fact that he's not being 100% truthful with her, and she has a lot of reservations just about relationships in general. This was so good, so cute. I think I gave it 4.25 stars. Was adorable. Was spicy. Loved it. Loved it. I love Candy Steiner. So, are we surprised? No, we're not, but I loved this. I did listen to this on audiobook, by the way. Finally another physical book. I did not read many physical books this month. I've spent a lot of time on my Kindle and a lot of time listening to audiobooks, but this is Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. This is my first Lynn Painter book, and I was obsessed. This is about Olivia and Colin, and Olivia she's kind of a klutz, a ditz. Everything bad that can ever go wrong is always happening to Olivia. So her boyfriend breaks up with her and starts dating her colleague, and so she almost burns down her apartment, so she decides she's gonna move home. And she ends up moving in with her brother and her brother's roommate, and her brother's roommate just happens to be Colin. Well, she gets a text late one night that asks her what she's wearing. So she starts flirting with this guy through text, kind of off and on. So there's a lot of texting in this book, and I loved that. I love texting in a book. Love it. So this was a lot of that, and I loved the communication that they had between it. So she starts texting Mr. Wrong Number, and it turns out Mr. Wrong Number is Colin. This was so cute. So good. It's dual POV. It's first person. I really, really, really loved this, and I completely understand why everyone is obsessed with Lynn Painter. I'm very excited to read more of her stuff. The banter, everything about this was so good. The spice was good. I'm excited to read some of her YA stuff as well, because I think her books are going to be just as good, not spicy. But yes, I absolutely freaking loved this book. I think I gave it 4.5 stars or 4.75 stars. I'm not 100% sure, but it's one of the two of those. Very good. Really, really loved this. And then we'll just go ahead and talk about both of these. I read both of the Lore Olympus books. I really liked these. These are Greek mythology retelling kind of things. It's Hades and Persephone, and I really loved these. These are graphic novels. They're beautiful. It's kind of hard to keep up with like who is who in this world, because it talks about a lot of different gods and goddesses in this world, and I kind of had to Google some of them because I don't know much about Greek mythology or mythology in general, but I was highly surprised with how much I love this. I completely understand why these are so well loved and why they're so viral. I think I gave them both 4 stars or 4.5 stars. I can't wait to read volume 3. Volume 4 is coming out very soon. I think volume 5 is supposed to come out before the end of the year. I think she still posts updates to webtoons, but I'd rather just wait and read the physical copies. And like I said, I really love this. I'm really enjoying this, and it's like a modern twist on Hades and Persephone. Like, they have cell phones and they very much like live in a world that is like ours. So very highly recommend these. These are adult graphic novels, so be aware of that, but they do have heavier topics in them. They are listed, I believe, in the beginning of the book. Yes, there are content warnings at the beginning of these books, which I love. I think that should be a norm for authors to do, is to put content warnings at the beginning of the book, or to say there are heavy topics, like in Nyla K's For the Fans. She put in the beginning of the book, there are heavy topics. If you want to know what they are and you are triggered by certain things, but you don't want to be spoiled, you can keep reading, or you can go to my website and it has it there. I think that is something so simple and small that authors could start doing to keep people from reading things that are very triggering to them. So bravo to Rachel for putting content warnings for this book. It's beautiful. The illustrations are absolutely gorgeous. And I'm really obsessed with these. Okay, and then I read the Viral in a Jam by Kate Cattenberry, and let me just tell you, it deserves all the hype. It deserves all the hype it's getting. I've seen it all over Instagram, all over TikTok, all over BookTube. Everyone is reading this book, and you need to read this book as well. Just go read it. Go read it. It has some of my favorite tropes ever. I read this on my Kindle, and I have to have this physical book because it is so freaking good. So this is about Shay and Noah, and Shay is left at the altar by her fiance. Third book with this trope. And I don't know what it was about this month, but I've read so many books with that trope this month. So Shay's step grandmother actually leaves her tulip farm to Shay, and one of the conditions is that she has to be married to be able to inherit the tulip farm. She decides, since her fiance left her, that she's going to move back and live at the farm for a year. She's going to give it a year and try to figure out how to find a fiance, or decide if she just wants to like give it up to the town. Her high school best friend Noah owns the farm next door. He actually is basically a single dad, and then he also offers to marry her so that she can get the farm, and then they have like a mutual agreement where they're gonna have like a wedding venue and all this kind of stuff. I loved this so freaking much. It was so good. The pacing was really beautiful. The build of their relationship was fantastic. I was not mad about like literally anything about this book. Everything in this book was so perfect to me. But it's very much, it's always been you too. Noah, oh my god, that man, let me tell you, Noah is very much the grumpiest grump, but in the best way. He's not a jerk, he's just grumpy, but in other aspects of their relationship, He has got a mouth on him, and boy, oh boy, the combination of him being super grumpy but not like a jerk grumpy, just kind of like moody, and then that, because he also like seems like he's like a really sweet guy and wouldn't have that dominant side, but boy does he. I swear. Whew, this has some, this book definitely has some heavy trigger warnings, so please go look those up as well. Like I said, if you've ever watched one of my videos, I always say look up trigger warnings for any book you want to read. Just any book you want to read. It might look like the sweetest rom-com and it is going to have heavy trigger warnings, so make sure you look up any trigger warnings that you might have. The kid in this book is so funny and so fantastic and is neurodivergent, and that representation was fantastic for me. I am very much somebody that struggles with that. I am ADHD like to the fullest extent, and struggle with some other things, so it was really cool to see a kid like her in a book. Loved it. It's on a farm. It's like small town. It's got all the best tropes. This book was so good, and the book title makes a lot of sense when you read it. In a Jam makes so much sense. Not only because they're in a jam because of the fact that she has to get married, but other reasons as well. But so yes, beautiful book. I loved this so much. Bravo, 5 stars. And then I listened to When We're 30 by Casey Dembowski. I had never heard of anything from this author. It definitely just kind of like showed up on my script and I was like, oh, that sounds cute. It was fake marriage, so I was sold. This is about Hannah and Will, and they made a pact when they were in college to get married if they both were not in a relationship by the time they were 30. Well, it rolls around to Hannah's birthday, her 30th birthday, and Will shows up with a ring. Hannah was currently in a relationship that was kind of crumbling, falling apart, and Will is in this very uppity family where he just had his fiance break up with him for his brother. That's a whole disaster. Will is definitely from a very privileged family, a very rich family, and a family that has very specific things that they expect from him. So they are not very happy when Will comes to them and says, hi, this is Hannah. This is my wife now. Will definitely has things that he wanted from Hannah, and reasons that he thinks that them being married will help his career and his family status, and Hannah needs it for other reasons that are very beneficial for her. I hated like every side character in this book except one. There's one side character that I did, well, two. I didn't hate her best friend and I didn't hate his younger brother. His younger brother I want to see get a book like yesterday. I cared more about him and his story and wanting to see more scenes with him than I cared about their relationship, really. I was very irritated with the way that his family treated her, and especially like his ex. That really just irritated the crap out of me, and Will really irritated me that he let that happen. So I was very irritated by this book. Like, you could tell that they had a thing for each other, but also they fought a lot for them to be like so in love, to just be getting together. Like they fought over the stupidest crap, and I'm like, can y'all not? I think I gave it 4 stars. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably more like 3.75 stars. And a lot of that could have been, sometimes I just don't vibe with audiobooks as much. I just think that Will needed to stand up for Hannah more and not let Hannah get into some things that she got into. Some things that happened to her. I think that he should have been there to be like, no, that here's what's going on. So, I just want his brother to get a book. That's what I got out of this, is everyone kind of pissed me off, and I want Daniel to get a book. That's what I get out of this. Moving on to something I'm much more happy about, and that is The Blood We Crave by Monty J. This is the 3rd book in the Hollow Boys series, and we just got a cover reveal today as I'm filming this for The Blood We Crave Part 2. And so this is the third installment of the Hollowboy series. This is Thatcher's book. Heavy trigger warnings if you've heard me talk about these books. These are very dark, very triggering, but they're so good. You really get to see everything that has happened to Thatcher, and the reason that he is the way he is. Very much, you get to see it. You get to see it a lot. And the end of this book literally had me sobbing. I was so upset. I was so upset. I'm very excited for the second book. If I was going to have to wait longer than I'm actually going to have to wait to read the second book in this, the part 2, I would not be okay. I would be so unwell. I still think that Rook is my favorite. I think book 2 is still my favorite, but this was very good. It was very different than the others. Their relationship is very different and is a lot deeper for a very different reason than the other 2 books, but I feel like every single one of these characters and these couples in these books have been through so much and are so connected to each other, and everyone in the series, they're so connected and they're such a incredible found family, and they would literally do anything for each other. But if you want a guy who is going to be sweet and like tell his girl how beautiful she is and how wonderful she is and how much he just adores her, this is not for you. That is not Thatcher Pearson. Sorry, but it's not. But if you want a boy that is going to do very dirty things to his girl for multiple reasons, then hello, Thatcher Pearson. Nice to meet you. So, like I said, heavy trigger warnings, very dark, lots of blood in this book. Blood We Crave. There's a reason that's there. So just take that with a grain of salt and don't read it if you're squeamish, basically. Loved this. 5 stars. Everything Monty writes, I think it's going to be 5 stars. I think I'm going to start their hockey series this month, and I'm very excited. I'm going to tell you more about that in my April TBR, which should be my next video after this one. It says, what is love without obsession? I love it. I need someone to read these so that I can talk to you about them. That's what I need. I'm trying to convince everyone to read it. I'm like, listen, if this is not your thing, that's fine. But if it is your thing, please read this so I can talk to you about it, because I just need somebody else to talk to it about. I need to talk to somebody about this, because I can't really like, these books are they're standalones, but these books are so interconnected. These books are so interconnected that I don't want to tell you who each couple is. I'll tell you who this is. This is Alistair and Briar. I'll tell you that this is Rook's book, but I'm not going to tell you who his heroine is, because the way this book is set up in this book is beautiful. It's so seamless. It's I know I've said this every time I've talked about these books, but the way that these books flow into each other is so beautiful, so seamless. You need to read them in order. Please read these books. The next book is like a dark purple, and it is going to be gorgeous, and I really, really can't wait. So, and my babies, I love them so much. Next, we're almost done. We're getting there. Then I read Lake Neighbor Love. This is the first full-length novel that Brandy Bliss put out, and I liked this a lot more than the novella. It is super cute. This is about Olivia and Luke. Olivia lives on the lake next to her best friend Kara, and Kara is getting married and moving away, but she is going to rent out her house, and her brother Luke ends up renting it from her. He is a amateur boxer. I haven't rated this yet, and I'm not sure what I want to rate it, because I thought it was really cute. I thought it had a lot more detail, and there was a lot more story told than the novella. I was very irritated at Luke at one point. Something happens and he does not handle it in the best way, but it's the reason that the conflict happened. But I feel like there are other ways that the conflict could have happened without that having to happen. I would have liked to have seen more in depth of them falling for each other. It kind of was all surface level for me. There wasn't a lot of depth to their relationship. It seemed more like a summer fling, where you're just kind of hanging out and vibing with each other, than it was like them falling in love. So for that reason, I'll probably give it like a 3.75 star. It was cute. I think it'd be a cute little summer romance to read, but I just want to see more depth from her characters, and them, more detail of them actually falling for each other. That was my biggest complaints about it. It was just so surface level for me. 2 more to go, and the last book I listened to was Look, a Woman Missing. I just finished this on the 31st, so I finished it right at the end of the month, and this book was crazy. It's considered a mystery thriller. It's definitely heavy on the mystery side. I'm just gonna read you the thing about it because there's so much going on, and there's different timelines that you're following. At one point I think you're listening to 3 different timelines, but the audiobook is really cool. I really suggest the audiobook because there's different voice actors for the different characters that are reading, because I think there's 3 perspectives that you're following as well. 4 perspectives. You're following 4 perspectives. So it's easier to tell which perspective you're in at any point in time because you're listening to a different voice actor. I am just going to read you the synopsis because I don't want to give anything away. So it says, people don't just disappear without a trace. Shelby Tebow is the first to go missing. Not long after, Meredith Dickey and her 6-year-old daughter Delilah vanishes blocks away from where Shelby was last seen, striking fear into their once peaceful community. Are these incidents connected? After an elusive search that yields more questions than answers, the case eventually goes cold. Now 11 years later, Delilah shockingly returns. Everyone wants to know what happened to her, but no one is prepared for what they will find. In this smart and chilling thriller, master of suspense and New York Times bestseller author Mary Kubica takes domestic secrets to a whole new level, showing that some people will stop at nothing to keep the truth buried. So you're following the disappearance of 3 people, and you are finding out everything that happened leading up to, maybe there's 5 perspectives because I think you follow Shelby at one time as well. Yeah, there's 5 perspectives in that book. Holy cow. So this kept me on my toes. I was constantly changing who I thought the killer was and what had happened to these women and this little girl, and it was literally crazy. So you follow Meredith at one point, you follow Shelby, you follow Delilah, you follow Delilah's brother Leo, and then you also follow Delilah and Meredith's neighbor. I can't remember her name, but you also follow her. So she's like the outside perspective that you get, that kind of watches it all happen. But there's so many connections and questions that you have about all of this stuff. There are some heavy trigger warnings, so please look that up, obviously. But I really liked this. I give it 4 stars. I am not a thriller mystery person, but this definitely solidified the fact that I think I might even give it 4.25 stars. I change my ratings all the time. But this definitely solidified the fact that the one mystery thriller that I have read, or the couple mystery thrillers that I have read, I just didn't like, because I really liked this one. And this one was done really, really well. So thank you to Olivia Reads a Latte for suggesting this, and I really want to read her new book because Olivia says it is also very good, and if you like this one, you will like that one. And then, y'all, the last book, we're going to save the best for last, the best for last. The last book that I read this month was Playboy Playmaker by Maren Moore. I got to read this really, really early. I got to read this before even I got my ARC review for it. I think I was one of the first people to fully sit down and read this book. And thank you so much to Maren for giving me that opportunity. I love you so, so much, and I'm so grateful for you. Not just as one of my favorite authors, but as a friend. But anyway, before I get too emotional about this book, because this is the last book in the Totally Plucked series, and this series holds such a special place in my heart. It was the second like hockey series that I picked up. I picked up Change on the Fly and fell in love with Marin's writing, and I really loved Change on the Fly. I just reread Change on the Fly last month and I was so obsessed with it. And then I read Sincerely the Puck Bunny and it was not my favorite. I really want to go back and reread that though, because I just didn't vibe with Madison for some reason. But now that I've seen more of Madison sprinkled throughout the rest of these books, I feel like I need to go back and give that book a second chance. And then we had the Scoring to Win duet, which was a scorecard and the final score, and I loved Graham and Emery so much. And then we had the penalty shot, that was Asher and Auden, and I was obsessed with them. And then we finally got Hudson's book, the Playboy Playmaker himself. And this book, this book was the perfect way to wrap up this series. We got so many glimpses of all of the guys from the previous books. Oh my god, we got so many glimpses of all of the guys from the previous books that it literally just made my heart so happy to be able to get all these scenes where we get to watch them. So this is about Hudson Rome, or Romeo as a lot of people call him, and then our beautiful heroine Caroline. If you've watched The Vampire Diaries, Caroline very much gives Caroline Forbes vibes in the best way. She is such a smart aleck and she is so sassy, and I loved her so much. She is so funny. This is probably the funniest book I've ever read of Marin's, and I just kept texting her and being like, this is so freaking funny. Like, I am dying laughing at this book. So Caroline is actually Hudson's coach's daughter, and she's a lot younger. She is 20 and he's 33, so there's a 13-year age gap there. But we love it. It's handled so well. It's not in like a creepy way. They run into each other at the Stanley Cup party and they have like a one-night fling, and she doesn't even know who he is. You learn later why she doesn't know any of the hockey guys. You think she would know with her dad being the coach, but you learn more about that later. So they have a one-night thing, and then they end up working together and they try their hardest to keep it a secret and to like stay away from each other and not tell anybody that they had this little one-night thing, and then slowly they just kind of can't fight it anymore. And so then they just start keeping it a secret from everyone that they're having fun with each other. But I loved this so much. 5 stars, 100%. It's so good. The build of their relationship is fantastic. The banter is fantastic. Their text messages with each other are absolutely hilarious. I really think that their build as a couple was really natural in a really great way. And I just could not think of a better way to end this series. Please go read this series. Go read the Totally Puck series. It is so good. It is the best sports romance. I'm just so obsessed. So go read it. Go read Change on the Fly first. Go ahead and start with it. Read this because you've got until the 12th. This doesn't come out until April 12th. So go read Change on the Fly, and then Sincerely the Puck Bunny, and then the Scoring to Win duet, and then the penalty shot, and then come back and read Playboy Playmaker. You will love it so much more if you spend the time and read all of these books in order. You will love the little glimpses of them that you get. Please go read this. It comes out April 12th. Set an alarm. Set a reminder. Do something to remember that this book is coming out, because I promise you, you're not going to want to miss it at all. It is so freaking good. They're all on Kindle Unlimited. Change the Fly is on Script, so you could listen to that there. But please go read this. And thank you again, Marin. I love you. Now that I am done talking about all those books, God almighty, this is probably the longest one of these, my longest wrap up there will ever be. I know that I filmed like a lot of this before I had to go get my daughter, and then I just lost like like it cut me off because I'd been filming for too long. So there's that. So I'm sorry if this video was extremely long. I had a lot to talk about. I had a lot of books to talk about. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have not already, make sure to subscribe down below and give this video a thumbs up. Like it, give it a thumbs up. Let YouTube know that you like what I am putting out. It helps me a whole lot. And keep an eye out for my April TBR that will be posted next. And I've got a list of books on that one. I think we're going to stick with these really big, long TBRs. It seemed to really help me this month. So we're going to see what we can do in April. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!